I remember 94, 95. And believe me, this is going to go like you're going to blink and it's going to be gone.
What else stood out about that season? That 94,
Injuries.
95, yeah.
Injuries.
All right, well, I've got Dan Wood here with me. And Dan, first impressions after we've seen this 2013 Ducks team on the ice for the very first time.
First impressions are it's great to be back, and I think everybody in this building shares that sentiment. I know the players are happy to be back, and we're all looking forward to next Saturday night in the opener in Vancouver.
I'm happy to be back, that's for sure. I also know, in looking around, I'm sure you spend a lot of time looking at all what the bloggers are saying and what the prognosticators are saying about this Ducks team, and I've seen a number of predictions for the year. Anaheim could be anywhere from 5th to 13th from what I'm reading. What do you think?
I think there are a lot of people who overlook the Ducks, especially if you're talking about national writers or broadcasters. You know, the Ducks are on the West Coast and kind of out of sight, out of mind. The one thing I do expect in this shortened season is there are going to be some teams that are expected to do well that don't, and vice versa. There are going to be some surprise teams, and I think the Ducks have just as good a chance as any other club to be one of those surprise teams and finish a lot higher than maybe a lot of people are anticipating.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I also think, hockey fans are getting pretty used to the idea that when it comes right down to the wire in the last week or two of the regular season, that it's tight to see who gets into the final few spots. I think it's going to be even tighter this year in the compressed schedule. Bob Murray has made a point of saying that he thinks that injuries are going to play a huge role, and I get the feeling that he's going to be right. And we were wondering, thinking back to 94, 95, and I know you and I can't remember a lot that happened
hard to remember
that long ago, but what are your recollections of that season?
Well, to be honest, Hazy, I really don't remember who got hurt or how many more injuries maybe there were that season. But obviously, with a compressed schedule, the teams are going to be playing games in tighter proximity than is the norm. So you're going to have some injuries. The other thing, there's a quirk in the schedule this year where the Ducks, for example, are going to play teams like Dallas, Detroit, and Phoenix and Edmonton multiple times in succession. So if one or the other of those teams happens to be playing well at that particular time and the other one doesn't, you might have, instead of a 4-point game, you might have an 8-point or a 12-point swing in the standings between those two teams. So it's going to be interesting. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I love it. And those back-to-back scenarios, too, are quite often in the same city. As broadcasters, we like that because you don't have to travel in between games. You've got all your prep done for game number one. So I think we're both feeling good about that. Of course, I'm obviously biased, and this will be no shock to you, Dan, but goaltending is going to play a huge role. Jonas Hiller hasn't been playing anywhere. He hasn't been playing in a league anywhere. And a lot of NHL goaltenders, a lot of starters have not been playing. Do you think that's a factor?
You probably know better than I, Hazy. I know if I had pucks coming at me at 100 miles an hour and all of a sudden they're coming and I hadn't seen them for a while, I have to think that's going to be a factor. But on the flip side, I think a goaltender can carry a heavier load conceivably this year because it's certainly not out of the question to expect a frontline guy to play 40 games in a 48-game season. So if Jonas Hiller plays the way he can, the way we've seen him play in the past, that could be a great thing for the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, fans sometimes forget he was the best goaltender in the West 2 years ago, right up until the All-Star break. So if he can recapture that kind of magic, I think the Ducks will be in good shape. It's also going to be fun to keep an eye on these new defensemen. They've added some bulk to the blue line, which I really like, Sheldon Surrey and Brian Allen. I like the pairing of Brian Allen with Cam Fowler.
I like the defense. I think the depth is really there. You've got some veterans, you've got some youngsters in Cam Fowler and Lucas Pisa, you've got some good depth guys, and then you have some even younger players coming along that may or may not be here this year, Hampus Lindholm and Sammy Vatanen. The other thing, Hazy, I would point to as a key for the Ducks, Ryan Getzlaf. He's in a contract year. He needs to bounce back to the form that we've seen in the past from Ryan Getzlaf. If he and Jonas Hiller play well, it's going to be a great season for the Anaheim Ducks.
I agree. We'd like to see Ryan Getzlaf shoot the puck a little more, and we hope that he's hungry. It all gets started on Friday. I think you can tell that Dan and I are excited. We hope you are too.